Good evening, welcome to ITV News and Monday night's calendar.
Yes, hello, good evening. Here are tonight's main stories.
Murder investigations are launched in Leeds and Halifax after two separate stabbing incidents which left 4 people dead.
Police are appealing for information about the incidents that have left communities in shock.
Also tonight, a man appears in court for mocking the death of cancer victim Bradley Lowry at a Sheffield Wednesday match.
Yorkshire Water promises a multi-billion-pound investment, but it comes at a cost, with bills going up.
It's always a balance between making sure we minimise the pressure on current consumers and we think about what we need for the long term.
And join us, the Raytons, here at Clifton Park in Rotherham to hear about our massive show on the 6th of July next year.
Hello, good evening. First tonight to 2 shocking stabbing incidents over the weekend which have left 4 people dead. Murder investigations have been launched in Halifax and Leeds. The youngest victims were just 21 and 19 years old.
After the stabbing in Halifax, 3 teenagers, 2 aged 18 and 1 aged 19, have been arrested. Adam Fowler is in Halifax, where police are still gathering evidence. And Adam will talk about the stabbing in Leeds shortly. But first, what's the latest where you are?
Well, you can see there is still a strong police presence behind me and roads remain closed in the area. It was here that West Yorkshire police were called at 3:48 yesterday morning after reports that 3 men had been assaulted. All 3 were taken to hospital with stab wounds. One man, aged 21, passed away a short time later, and today it emerged that another man, 19 years old, died late last night. A third, aged 18, received treatment for non-life-threatening injuries. Now, detectives have launched a murder investigation. 3 males, 2 aged 18 and 1 aged 19, have been arrested in connection with the incident and remain in police custody tonight. Well, the Reverend Canon Hilary Barber has been talking about the attacks and how it's shocked the community.
Halifax is one of the safest places to live in the UK, which makes this all the more shocking. If it had been in one of our major cities, sadly maybe we would have expected it. But here, this is not the norm. This is something that is extraordinary.
And Adam, sadly, this wasn't the only attack in West Yorkshire this weekend, was it? A 53-year-old man and a 65-year-old man also died in Leeds.
Yes, that's right. Sadly, police have launched a double murder investigation following the deaths of those 2 men in the city. They were called to the Hilltop Avenue area of Hare Hills on Saturday morning after reports that a man had been stabbed. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Another male was rushed to hospital and died a short time later. A 46-year-old was found with serious injuries to his hand. He was taken to hospital and also arrested on suspicion of murder. So too was a 47-year-old man. Trained officers are now supporting the families of the victims, both here and in Leeds, and in both cases they're also appealing for anyone who may have information that can help them with their investigations to get in touch.
OK, Adam Fowler live in Halifax, thank you.
Next tonight, a judge has described the actions of a Sheffield Wednesday fan who mocked the death of Sunderland mascot Bradley Lowry as utterly deplorable.
Following the incident at Hillsborough on Friday, Wednesday supporters have raised more than £19,000 for the Bradley Lowry Foundation, which was set up to help other families after Bradley's death from cancer in 2017.
Well, earlier today, Dale Horton pleaded guilty to a public order offence at Sheffield Magistrates Court. From there, Martin Fisher reports.
Well, Dale Horton appeared here at Sheffield Magistrates Court today to face a single public order offence charge. Now, that charge related to events at Sheffield Wednesday's Hillsborough ground on Friday evening when the Owls were playing Sunderland. It was alleged that Horton held up a picture on his mobile phone showing 6-year-old Bradley Lowry and used it to goad and taunt Sunderland fans into a response. Now, you may remember Bradley Lowry was the little boy who died back in 2017 from neuroblastoma cancer, but not before he touched the hearts and minds of football fans and supporters across the country by his brave efforts battling the disease. When he did die, the foundation that was set up in his name raised over £1 million to treat difficult to treat cancers in children. Well, today Horton pleaded guilty to that public order offence, and an impact statement was read from Bradley's mother, who said she became aware of events on Friday evening from posts on Facebook. She said in that statement, "The image made me feel so many emotions. I found it hard to put into words. It was not just disrespectful to Bradley, but others who have suffered emotional trauma. I am so upset that this man has used Bradley's image to goad Sunderland fans. I have nothing but loving memories of Bradley, and it was unforgivable." Well, the judge, James Gould, today adjourned the case for sentencing. That'll take place on November the 17th, but he did say some comments. He said that the image he had seen was deplorable, and it appeared like Horton was revelling in his actions. He said that all sentencing options were still open, up to and including imprisonment. Martin Fisher, ITV News in Sheffield.
Well, next tonight, bills look set to rise as Yorkshire Water announces plans to clean up its network of pipes and improve river and coastal water quality.
The company says it plans to invest nearly £8 billion in the project, but the plans are dependent on customers paying more.
Well, it follows a summer of repeated sewage discharges into rivers and the North Sea. Holly Goodall has more.
There are fresh calls for a concerted effort to clean up our beaches by reducing the amount of waste which is washed into the sea.
Surfers again.
Yorkshire Water has never been far from the headlines in recent years. This summer, the Yorkshire coastline has seen unsafe pollution levels, with regular warnings issued against swimming in the sea in Scarborough. And sewage isn't the only problem. Public confidence has been further eroded by a number of major water leaks. More than 3,000 homes in the Stannington area of Sheffield were left without gas for several days after a water pipe burst just before Christmas last year. Last month, the water company was made to pay back £20 million to its customers by the regulator due to its poor performance. Today, Yorkshire Water has promised to clean up its act with its largest ever environmental investment as part of a £7.8 billion plan. But if approved by Ofwat, it would see bill payers shoulder the cost. From 2025, bills will go up by just over £80 a year, rising to an increase in nearly £150 a year by 2030. It's a cost the company's CEO believes is justifiable.
95% of our plan is meeting statutory requirements, things that the government has told us that we must do. 5% is things that people of Yorkshire have said are really important to them. So making sure we continue to invest for flooding resilience in Hull, that we continue to invest for our bathing waters. So you can see the volume of work that has to be done to meet those needs.
Yorkshire Water says nearly 80% of its customers, when asked, were happy with the plans. That didn't seem to be the view of the people we spoke to today.
They need to put the bills down because it's ridiculous.
We're paying for a service that we ain't going to get properly, are we?
They should be paying, not us paying.
Yorkshire Water's support for customers who are struggling to pay their bills is very good. That doesn't mean it couldn't be better. It doesn't mean that their shareholders couldn't actually put their hand in their pocket for a bit more money. They've done that in this plan, but I think they could probably go a little bit further.
Under the plans, Yorkshire Water will invest £1.9 billion on reducing sewage leaks by around a third. An additional £26 million will be spent on tackling flooding in Hull and East Riding, areas which have both been badly affected in the past. But the company is already in hot water and is facing legal action over its reporting of pollution levels. If the plan gets approval, both Ofwat and bill payers will be watching closely to make sure it holds water. Holly Goodall, ITV News.
Well, thanks very much for joining us for Monday night's calendar. And still to come on the programme this evening, calls for teachers to get training to help pupils with dyslexia.
And there's signs that the weather could have us jumping for joy before the end of the week. I'll be back later on in the programme with a full forecast.
But first, ITV News understands that the Manchester leg of HS2 has been shelved, adding to uncertainty about plans for the Northern Powerhouse Railway between Bradford, Leeds and other major cities in our region.
Well, while the government is yet to confirm the decision has been made, It's been the talk of the Conservative Party conference, which is taking place in Manchester. Well, our political correspondent Charanpreet Kera joins us live from the conference. And Charanpreet, there's been so much will they, won't they about HS2, hasn't there? So has a decision now been reached?
Well, I'm afraid that will they, won't they looks set to continue just a little bit longer. Our understanding is that the decision has been made and that HS2 to Manchester has been shelved. But Downing Street has refused to confirm that that is the case. Now, at a Tory party conference that's happening in an old railway station right in the centre of Manchester, this topic that ministers refuse to talk about is causing a lot of tension.
So what will that actually mean for our region, Charanpreet?
Well, as you know, HS2, the eastern leg to Leeds, was scrapped 2 years ago, but this is still incredibly important for our region. That's because where HS2 was going to lead, Northern Powerhouse Rail was set to follow. Now that was going to link up Leeds with Hull on one side and Manchester on the other. The promise there was that would improve connectivity between economic hubs in the north, bringing prosperity to our region. And there are some who believe that without HS2, that Northern Powerhouse Rail just can't happen.
You can't have one without the other. So the government, if the government are going to scrap that northern leg to Manchester, it does mean a rethink of Northern Rail. And quite honestly, why should we believe a government who tell us they're going to deliver Northern Powerhouse Rail in isolation if they've already broken their promises on HS2? So it is a betrayal of our communities, it is a betrayal of those promises that they've made to our communities.
Well, Rishi Sunak has previously claimed that Northern Powerhouse Rail and HS2 are unconnected projects, but with transport bosses and opposition politicians in our region disputing that, the government is now under increasing pressure to confirm their decision on HS2 and provide some clarity over what that will mean for Northern Powerhouse Rail.
Yes, I wonder when we'll find out. Interesting. Thanks very much, Charanpreet Kera in Manchester.
Junior doctors and consultants started their longest period of joint strike action today as they walked out in their ongoing dispute over pay. NHS bosses have warned there will be disruption, with some appointments and planned treatments rearranged. The government has labelled the BMA's three-day strike as counterproductive, while those on picket lines in Leeds today said it was their only option.
It has a significant impact in having so many of our medical workforce unavailable for work when we would normally expect them to be working with us. We have been planning for this for a number of weeks in order to try and keep services as safe as possible and to mitigate the risks that this causes.
I'm sure none of us really want to be here. We want to be inside the hospital treating our patients. But we are here, let's say, not only for us, but for you, for everyone.
A family from Castleford is calling for dog owners to keep their pets under tight control around horses after their pony was attacked by two dogs. Shannon Longdon's pony Gypsy was set upon in her field by what she thinks were pit bull crosses. It left the pony with severe cuts to her face and legs, and she could lose her ear. She says her children were badly affected and they face a vet bill of at least £1,500, which they're fundraising to cover.
So we're devastated, crying, really upset. They just wanted to give her loves and stuff, but obviously with what had happened to her, she was shocked and shook up. If you know your dog doesn't like other dogs or other animals, maybe just keep them on a lead and muzzle them, and like a bit of a longer lead and stuff like that. I mean, it's not hard, is it?
Campaigners are calling for all teachers to be trained to spot the signs of dyslexia in young children who they say are currently being failed by the education system.
Yes, the charity Made by Dyslexia claims children across the country can't get access to the support they need, and figures show 85% of people trying to get a diagnosis have struggled with the process. Katie Ridley reports.
It's a normal day of teaching at Hunter's Bar Infant School in Sheffield. Pupils here are taking part in a lesson, but some students at this school may need a little bit of extra help if they are dyslexic.
So we have lucky enough to have a screener that would identify some of the gaps in children's learning, so we could pinpoint those things and work on them particularly. We have dyslexia-friendly classrooms. We follow a multi-sensory teaching approach, so not everything is written down and heard. We use actions and dance and lots of other ways of promoting the curriculum.
Dyslexia is a learning difficulty that mainly causes problems with reading, writing and spelling and affects over 6 million people in the UK. According to the charity Made by Dyslexia, 80% of people with the learning difficulty leave school without a diagnosis. Matilda, who's 16, was diagnosed with dyslexia when she was 9 years old.
The impact that the diagnosis had on me was amazing because it was almost like clarity. It was like, I can't read and write like everyone else, but that's okay. I can find ways around it. Like using laptops and things like that, and it just felt like I understand now, like I'm not stupid, it's just the way my brain works, and that's okay.
But getting to this stage wasn't easy, and after years of trying, Matilda's mother Lisa had to pay hundreds of pounds to get her diagnosed privately.
All the way through primary school I was always asking for support, which we didn't really get, and then when she got to high school we did ask quite a lot what help she could get. When she was coming up for her GCSEs, she got an assessment done, and she was then given 25% extra time in her GCSEs and the option to use a laptop, which was very helpful.
Since her diagnosis, Matilda has been able to access the help she needs. But she supports the idea of all teachers being given specialist training on how to spot the signs of dyslexia.
The support I would have benefited from was my teachers knowing what dyslexia was and knowing how they could support me, because in primary school especially, none of my teachers knew what it was, so they just couldn't help me.
Matilda is now studying for her A-levels after gaining 8s in her GCSEs, the equivalent to A's in the old system. She says with the right support, dyslexia can be a strength and not a weakness. Katie Ridley, ITV News.
Well, we did ask the Education Secretary for an interview about the government's action plan on dyslexia, but she was unavailable. But in a statement, the Department for Education said the plan would reform the support system for children, prioritising earlier intervention and creating consistent high standards across the country. They added, we also putting significant investment into the high needs budget to support local authorities, including a further £440 million for 24-25. Bringing total funding to £10.5 billion, an increase of over 60% since 2019-2020.
Well, the ITV Evening News is continuing at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Mary Nightingale.
Coming up in the programme, is this the end of the line for HS2 to Manchester? We understand the northern leg of the project is going to be scrapped. It means it won't connect Manchester to Birmingham, and it will have reaction from the Tory party conference, fittingly taking place in Manchester. Also ahead, consultants and junior doctors together on the picket line as the NHS faces extreme disruption. And a unique insight into Sir Roger Moore's time as the spy with a licence to kill. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Thanks, Mary. See you then. Thank you. Now then, events are underway across our region to mark Black History Month, with Bradford University among the first. Dancers opened their celebrations with staff and students taking part in a programme of music and talks. The aim is to highlight the significant contributions of black people to the city and elsewhere.
The story of the black people, if it is not told, definitely the story of what is incomplete. So very much important to celebrate the Black History Month is to look at the past, look at the present, and possibly look at the future.
If you come on campus, University of Bradford, you would learn about every society, every nation, every national. You're able to interact and blend and bond.
OK, it's time for some sport now, and a weekend to forget, unfortunately, for most of our region's football teams.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
And Chris is with us in the studio. And you know, Chris, there's a lot of fans who aren't going to be thinking of this weekend very fondly, are they?
They're not, Ian. No, not a classic, was it? Only 3 teams avoiding defeat. Only one winner as well. Both Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday remain winless following defeats. Leeds and Rotherham lost as well. But in Darren Moore's first home game in charge of Huddersfield Town, he was almost celebrating an impressive win. Delano Bergzorg put the Terriers ahead. And didn't he enjoy it? That was his first goal at the John Smith. Sadly, they couldn't hold out, and Brandon Williams earned Ipswich a share of the points. Elsewhere, a quick-thinking free kick put Davis Kelly-Dunn in to score his 8th goal of the season as Mansfield maintained their unbeaten start to the season with a draw at Gillingham. And saving the weekend for us was Harrogate Town, our only winners thanks to this fortuitous and, I've got to say, rather comical own goal down at the Milton Keynes Dons. This weekend there were mixed fortunes for the Sheffield Steelers, who won 6-0 on Saturday against Nottingham in the Challenge Cup but lost 3-2 to Cardiff in the Elite League at the Arena yesterday. It was a similar situation for the Steel City's basketball team too. The Sheffield Sharks, here in the black, beating Surrey Scorchers on Saturday by 70 points to 67 but losing yesterday at the Plymouth City Patriots.
Now finally tonight to the #1 selling band from Rotherham, the Raytons, who've just announced their first homecoming gig in Clifton Park next summer.
Yes, the South Yorkshire Lads took the world by storm earlier this year, and we were there when their army of fans sent their album What's Rock and Roll to #1 independently without the backing of a record label.
Now they're set to headline the 20,000 capacity gig next summer in what's expected to be the live show Rotherham has ever hosted, the biggest of its kind. Astrid Quinn went to meet the band in Clifton Park to find out more.
Fresh off the back of your sold-out gig in Sheffield, talk us through biggest gig yet here in Clifton Park.
You know, it's been a crazy weekend. You know, we've just done sold-out Sheffield Arena Saturday night, 12,500 people. But in the back of his minds, we knew we were going to announce this, and it's been the dream for us since the beginning. You know, it's a place that we all used to play as kids. We used to come here. So many people, so many nostalgic memories. You know, to be lads from Rotherham to stand in his hometown, right in the heart of it in Clifton Park, it's just going to be special. So I just can't wait.
And I know that Clifton Park is actually featured in one of your songs. I know you guys have written about it. How does it feel to have come all this way and be playing to 20,000 people?
It's not going to be until you stand on that stage. I think the kind of lead up to it, Joe, you're always going to be excited and kind of have a load of thoughts running through your mind. But I think you might find me crying at that point in time, honestly.
And is this a little bit of a thank you to those fans that have packed you all the way? You know, you're still doing this all on your own without a record label. I mean, is this a bit of a celebration for their support?
Oh, absolutely. This is not, you know, we say this every time, this is not for us. This is not just our night. This is everybody's night. This really is a big celebration, a big party. There's people visiting Rotherham to come and see Clifton Park that are from all areas of the UK. Do you know what I mean? You've got people from Glasgow, Brighton, all up and down the country that are coming to see us at like Sheffield Arena, and they're taking pictures at Clifton Park, you know, and it just makes us proud. Rotherham's not always had the best press, so hopefully times are changing and we're gonna do something really positive for us as community and the fan base worldwide.
And just walking through the park there to come and film this, you actually stopped half a dozen times by people going, oh, it's the Raytons. How does that feel in your own hometown?
It's mental, you know. I mean, way before this started, I mean, I remember doing like little gigs in Rotherham, like playing to about 4 people in rugby club, and there was no one there. And to go all these years over and kind of getting more people on board, understanding what we're doing and what we're about and that, and to be able to come through and kind of share those moments with his fans and that, it's something special, and it's just nice that it keeps happening, I guess.
And to keep the fans busy until next July, you've got some exciting news in January as well, don't you?
Yeah, we've got his next album coming out straight off the back of a #1 album in January. Like you said yourself, no label. We've done it all ourselves. We're a DIY band, so we rely heavily on the community that's around us. It's just a massive family, and you know what? We've had one #1. We're going to do it again. We're going to do it again.
And I bet they will do it again. That was Astrid Quinn there with the Raytons. Lovely bunch of blokes. Really,
yeah, you've met them, haven't you?
I have. They're smashers.
Oh, wish them all the best, and we look forward to that gig. Now then, let's get the weather from Joe Blythe.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thank you. Hello, a very good evening to you. This week, our weather shows signs of settling down and warming up. But the next couple of days, there will be some rain in the forecast, and that certainly starts this evening. 1 or 2 heavy bursts and showers during tomorrow. In general, though, although temperatures will fluctuate over the next few days, we will be feeding up some warmer air from the continent by the time we get to Friday and into the weekend. Accompanied by more settled conditions, temperatures will be above average for the time of year. That is, of course, then. And in the meantime, this evening, rather wet weather across much of Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, Derbyshire. Some heavy spells of rain south of the Humber for a time, but after midnight, most places will become a little drier. But there's low cloud, mistiness to be had, and in general, temperatures staying in double figures, so it's not going to be a chilly night, at least. As we head through into tomorrow morning, most places should be largely dry. The sun will be rising tomorrow morning at 11 minutes past 7, setting at around 20 to 7 tomorrow evening. For Tuesday, perhaps cloudy skies initially, some mistiness and a few fog patches, but it will brighten up quite quickly. Bit of sunshine on offer, but a feed of showers moving across Yorkshire through the middle part of the morning. 1 or 2 sharp ones into the afternoon. They're fairly well spread out, and there'll be lots of drier interludes with some sunshine to look forward to. Temperatures at around 16 or 17 Celsius won't feel incredibly warm, but temperatures will be picking up a little bit as we go through the next few days. In general, it's settling down. Wednesday, Thursday and Friday showing a good deal of cloud at the moment, but by Friday afternoon, skies should brighten and temperatures will pick up towards the end of the week. And into the weekend, it'll be feeling warm. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thanks very much, Joe. Warming up for the weekend.
I can't
Who'd
believe
have thought?
it. I can't believe
I've packed
it.
away my shorts too early.
So have I. I'll have to get them out again, eh? Have another look at my leg. That's it. We'll see you again tomorrow night at 6. Good night.
Bye-bye.